Hey, Doc. I am working on this Mark II Emperor's Children Tactical Squad. Trying to get through doing the black on them without getting too much black on the purple. Which is proving to be harder than it should be. How about yourself? You working on anything tonight? Hey Jurgen, how you doing, mate? Sorry I'm late. My friend wanted to do a movie night tonight, so I was around here watching Alien. Oh, nice, nice. Always good to nearly be finished. Got half of the big 40k set and a Castellan. Nice, nice. Well, you should be able to get all that done in one weekend. My plan is to try and get these guys finished by the end of next week. Get these done. Get some Sons of Horus and Night Lord stuff done. Basically, I've got 2 weeks to get as much finished before the all the Mark III stuff starts arriving. My current project is I'm making a homebrew chapter based off of some old miniatures I had from long ago. Cool. What's the colour scheme you're going to go for? These guys are based on an army I did long ago as well, back in 4th or 5th edition. I did a Loyalist Emperor's Children pre-heresy army. The plan is to do these guys as the wings of the Phoenician, or Phoenician. So do a lot of assault marines. Just nice big blob of tacticals in the middle to hold objectives, that sort of thing. I want to do some really cool conversions for the assault marines. But I need to source myself some Mark IV for those guys. I have no idea, haven't started, but I'm thinking probably red or orange, somewhere in there, possibly a blue. Hardest part is deciding the dad chapter, especially since you either want to tie them into the heresy. Well, you pretty much can pick anyone, can't you? mean, those colours are all present in the Imperial Fists, the Ultramarines. Not so much the Blood Angels or the Dark Angels. You could probably get away with it as the White Scars. Maybe even the Salamanders. Although I don't think Salamanders had any second founding chapters. There weren't enough of them left. Also, I've got to say thanks GW for doing a painting tutorial for the Rogue Trader Badab War Tempest Gallery, sorry. Salamander schemes. Not that we didn't have enough people already painting that scheme. Instagram has just been filled with people doing the yellow, black and red Salamander scheme now. God damn it, we need more people doing green salamanders. We haven't got enough of them. Oh, hyperlethality, I appreciate that, I really do. But get better tastes. Yes, Joseph, it's all heresy all the time on this channel. Yep. No, just doing some Emperor's Children today. Had a phone call mid-stream. Oh. Yeah, Ultramarines would be really good. Ultramarines are always good. Plus they had the most successor chapters. You'd be surprised if you had a look at the old 2nd/3rd edition Ultramarines codex. It's got a list of all their successor chapters in the artwork, and there's some chapters in there you wouldn't expect to see, like the Black Templars, for example. I think the Brazen Claws are in there as well. I gave this guy a wash of Druchii Violet, and it's left all these little white stains in the cracks around some of the edges because I mixed it with water. So I'm going to have to, when these are all dry, give them a bit of a spritz of water to get rid of that, which is annoying, but it happens. I don't know if I'm going to give them an oil wash yet. I'm not sure if I want to do them like super dirty. Probably will. Poor Black Templars, yeah. Oh, this is long before they even had their own chapter, so. I know this one, Brazen Claws were both in Iron Hands and Ultra chapter. Due to how the Iron Hands were split up, the Brazen Claws were given nothing, so Bobby G stepped in. Yeah, sounds about right. I always like the Sons of Medusa. I had a Sons of Medusa army not long after I did these guys, actually. And that's where a lot of them went. They got stripped and repurposed. The joys of being dirty poor. There was no buying new kits for me for a lot of the time. It was stripping and repurposing. Which is sad, because it means I've got no record of my Relictors, I've got no record of my Emperor's Children, very little record of my Sons of Medusa. I think I've got one model left. Actually, I might not even have that anymore. Bloody drawers. Oh, no, there he is. Yeah. Covered in cobwebs. Yeah, that would have been about 5th edition-ish. So, yeah, long time ago. And that's a proper metal Tyrannic War veteran that I hacked up. Hi Rutger, how you doing? Yeah, if there was easier access to bionics, I'd do a full-size Sons of Medusa force and make them really, you know, heavily iron handsy. I mean, if GW is going to do all the armor marks in the same pose with the same bits, then it should be really easy for them to do a cross-compatible bionics kit. Yeah, I'll do backpack tubes on them later. I like this sergeant. The camera does wash out the purple though. So, did everyone get their Mark III stuff ordered? Did you manage to get one? Did you not bother? Are you going to be trying to get any of the pre-orders tomorrow? I will most definitely not be getting up early to try and pre-order anything tomorrow. I've got no interest in that. Plus I'm broke now. You're going to get the old Mark III, Jogan. Good luck. If you can find it, go for it. I'm not going to replace my entire army. I probably won't bother adding any of the new Mark III to my my Raven Guard, for example. I'll just add bits and pieces from other armour marks in there. Or I'll probably just start prioritising tanks. Been thinking of getting a Kratos for my Raven Guard. I think that'd be quite fun. One thing I was thinking of getting some thud guns, or whatever they call them, quad mortars, but actually doing them up like a proper mortar team. So it's just, Raven Guard just dropping mortars into a tube. Wait till Christmas. That's a nice one, Peter. That's always good. Don't spend if you don't have to. You can see the white on the shoulder pad around the studs from where it's dried off with that with the wash. It goes away with a bit of water. But it's a pain in the ass. Got your copy of Rogue Trader? You happy? Good. That's good. Don't know if I could bring myself to buy Rogue Trader. I might pick up a... If they ever did a reprint of the 3rd edition rules, I'd think about getting that. But it's pretty useless without the codexes. So I might just look about getting some of them off eBay. I've also decided that while Epic's basically taking over Heresy Thursday, I'm just going to cover alternatives to 40k and 30k at that point. I'm just going to do, videos based on other games. And yeah, they won't get the views that 40k videos get, but, so it is. Yeah, they'd suit 40k Iron Warriors really, really well. What I really want to see is a 40k campaign that is those non-cult legions back again. I'd love to see the Iron Warriors, the Night Lords in 40k getting more of the spotlight. I know it probably won't happen. And as an Imperial Fist player, I'm supposed to hate Peter Turbo and his Grim Boys. And as much as I dislike... I don't dislike Epic, I just dislike the way Games Workshop's handling it, basically. So I've got some 3D printed Epic minis coming. So I will still do a video on it and painting them, but yeah, it's just a bit... Make its own thing. Give us those videos on Mondays and do regular Heresy, on Thursdays. Like Necromunda. They did articles on Necromunda showing off a guy's gang, just like his Van Sar gang, like today or yesterday. Why can we not have that? If we've got no releases, show us that. Show us, fucking Jess Goodwin's Emperor's Children, or Andy Hoare's Emperor's Children, or whoever, or whatever. Yeah, I just wish they would give it as much love as the other, specialist games are getting. Yeah, looks fine. This man is your friend. He fights for, well, frankly, survival. What price are you expecting for the Epic game? Also really like the Vance article. It was a good article, really good article. Well converted models. I'm expecting the LI box release to probably be in the region of what the Adeptus Titanicus Grandmaster Edition was. Basically. Maybe the Adeptus Titanicus starter, if we're lucky. But more than we want to spend on it, I'll tell you that for nothing. What I'm worried about, I'm not worried about the box game price. That's going to be competitive. It's going to be fine. GW always does good prices for their starter sets, more or less. I'm worried about the price of all the individual kits. Hey, I want to buy 4 drop pods. I don't think 4 drop pods is going to be worth £35. I don't think it's going to be worth, £25 or £27. That's the bit I'm worried about mostly. Because that's the bit that's going to kill the game otherwise. Because, you get 4 of them in there. This box set costs £35 at 40k, but you get 4 of them in this scale for this amount. That's great, but I need 12 of them in my army. So your saving is negligible. Again, I really want to stress that I'm not just being negative. I'm not being like, oh, Games Workshop's got something coming out, I've got to complain about it. I want to be happy for all of these releases, but Games Workshop is just absolutely fucking us with the price. It's just nuts. I want more people to play Warhammer games. I want to struggle to get, into my local Warhammer shop because of the amount of people that are in there, like it used to be. Back in the 90s and the early 2000s, you struggled to get into a GW at the weekend because they were just filled with kids. And when I worked there, even then, it was you didn't like working Sundays. It was not fun because there was just so many people coming in, so many kids buying stuff. And that's what you want. You want that company to be like that. But unfortunately, the current owners of Games Workshop they're spreadsheeting the game or the company to death, basically. They're going to squeeze as much profit out of it as they can. They'll sell their shares and then move on to the next thing. That's what investment firms do, and it's not fun. Command Squad for Epic I can see being £35. Yeah, and the way I see it is the only way they're going to do it is they'll do it in platoons. So it'll be something like 4 to 6 bases of infantry, a command squad, a 10-man or 20-man's worth of heavy weapon squads, 20-man support squads, that sort of thing, a 20-man assault squad, all on 2 sprues, but it'll be 1 box, and that'll be sort of £50. that's kind of how I expect them to do it. Yeah. When can we expect the Heresy Thursday videos to be replaced with bolt action videos? Next week. No, I've got my early war Polish army to finish, so that's going to be my goal. So the Heresy Thursday videos will basically probably be, I may just record me painting those for an hour or so and just upload those, talking about random cool moments in the war that could be inspirations for armies, and tips for moving into that versus 40k. My problem with GW is the staff these days. Back in the day they were doing it for the hobby. These days the guys don't give a fuck. They do. They also have horrendous sales targets usually. A lot of them are overworked and underpaid, I'll be honest. There are some of them who... Some Games Workshop employees are very much, I'm better than you because I work for Games Workshop. And I've seen them where they're like, oh, these people are going to be really mad when they find out I highlight my black using blue. And you see the models they're painting, and I'm like, buddy, I was painting like that when I was 12. Like, there is nothing special about the way you're painting. But because they work for Games Workshop, they think they're hot shit. And I'm like, buddy, you are a sales drone. Your job is to gaslight 12-year-olds into rebuying their Space Marines. Will there be a return to detailing your Legion? Absolutely, there will be. There will absolutely be a return to that series. I will pick it up with... I'll have a look back through my videos because I can't remember where we got to. But what I'll do is probably do 2 Legions per video and just start from fresh, specifically for the Mark III armour. Look at this. Tried to prime this guy and the primer reacted weirdly to the resin. It's all cracked, so I'm going to have to strip this and start again. And it just flakes off really easily. Oh, he's just broken off his base. That's good. Base is not included, sold separately. I'll be honest, that's kind of my theory, my thinking towards the old world, is I might just buy a pack of the bases and then 3D print the models. The Foot Knights I really am not a fan of for the Bretonnians. We have, however, seen the faction HQ, the big faction HQ for the Bretonnians, and not a lot of people are talking about it. But yeah, when they showed off the guy on the Griffin, not the Griffin, sorry, the Pegasus, there was an alternate build there, which is King Leon the Orc Slayer in white and red. And apparently the Tomb Kings will have a chariot with Cetra as the alternate build on the Chariot of the Gods, which will be the Tomb Kings' big faction boss, which is cool. They Tomb Kings don't have much lore, at all, really. So having them expanded to fit this era is good, because it really fleshes out, pun intended, the fleshes out the faction a bit. Is the Plume Boy X Phoenix Guard? You mean this guy? Or this guy? This is just the Tactical Squad Sergeant. But it'll be 2 squads of Assault Marines, full-size squads of Assault Marines, to represent the wings of the Phoenician. And then a Praetor with Command Squad to represent the is it the Eagle King they called him? Yeah, I think we'll see more Tomb King stuff quite soon, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah, I'm worried about the price of the old world again. That seems to be my biggest concern, because yeah, they've said they're going to be doing the boxes in basically the maximum unit size, which is cool, but I don't know how people are going to react to 20-odd-year-old models going up from like £20 for 20 of them to like £35 for 30 of them. It's quite a jump. Just asking, is the plume pointing forward in the Legion indicated someone as part of the Phoenix Guard? I didn't know that. Well, that's good. But yeah, they're loyalist survivors from Isfan. The only problem with doing the main armour colour first is that any detailing, any mistakes you make can be catastrophic. Because it's not like I can just go and get this purple out of a pot and touch it up. It's a very subtle blend. You may be able to see in the creases of the shoulder pads where I've had to go in with a darker purple to tidy things up. I'm hoping they're not going to pull a heresy with the old world and dump everything all at once and then give us just heads. Guess what? Yeah, so it's kind of going to be like that. You're going to get Tomb Kings and Bretonnians at release, and then any other kits that are currently in production will be shown as, old world. But it won't be until the first campaign book comes out that you get like the Empire and the Orcs as their own big release boxes, which is not going to be fun. My IT teacher was trying to convince me to save up and buy a Thunderhawk yesterday. Well, Well, the good news is that once you have a career in IT, you'll never be able to afford a Thunderhawk gunship. Ask me how I know. But yeah, unless you are specialising into something very high end in IT, good luck. Oh, we've lost a subscriber. That's clever. I've obviously done something right there. We're very close to 1,000 now. I need to figure out a more comfortable painting position. Because this ain't it, Chief. Started getting into 30k around midsummer this year. Started with the AOD box and Liber Heretica and Mechanicum. First time building Marines, Iron Warriors, because Forge World Mechanicum is still a long way. Yes, Mechanicum are a long way away, unfortunately, which is annoying. I mean, these are the sort of articles they should be doing. They need to be doing articles on, like, hey, you know, this is how you can convert 40k Mechanicum to look like, you know, be more usable in 30k Mechanicum for stuff that's just not available. You know, do an article on how on you know, 3 people who've converted different Skitarii units to be tech thralls and stuff, and or just their armies in general. Inspire people. But obviously they won't. They used to do stuff like that back in the day, but not anymore. Someone asked, how do we save Games Workshop on our comments? And unless you've got enough money to basically Elon Musk Games Workshop back into being a private company, you simply will not save this company now. The money men have their fingers into it, and once that happens, it's basically game over for a company. And they'll run it until it collapses effectively. Squeeze every ounce of profit out of it. Sell the shares before they collapse, and move on to the next thing. So unless you can wait it out and then buy all the shares and have enough money to save the company, but at that point it's usually receivership. But we are in a startlingly similar situation to how we were. I don't know, was it 6th, 7th edition when they closed? No, it can't have been that late. I think it might have been 5th or 6th edition they closed off specialist games. And yeah, it's not good. You know, we lost Epic 40k. I think it was Epic Armageddon at the time, actually. Necromunda, Mordheim, Battlefleet Gothic, Space Hulk. I think that was all of them. Gorka Morka. Yeah, they all just... that was it, they got cancelled. Specialist Games got shuttered and moved basically back into the main studio. Forge World lost a lot of their kits. And that was something that continued onwards. I wish you younger guys could really see the old Forge World, how it was back when they were at their height. with the Imperial Armor books and like all the really cool stuff. And they were making stuff like generators and searchlights and other random things to make your battlefields really interesting, and coming up with weird and wacky rules for them. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Forge World's gone by, I don't know, 2-3 years from now. It'll be integrated all into the main GW website. Still pissed at more time and Inquisitor getting the fucks. Yep. Yep. Yeah. 125, 150 each of the Tomb King and Bretonnian get their own box with a rulebook. Yeah, 125 would be on point for a box set like that. 148 or something ish. Usually for the, like, if it's the same size as AOD. Did Horus just go Goblin Green mode? Or Green Goblin mode? Yeah, a little bit. I still want Horus to come back. I want his Dark Crusade with all his own Primarchs. I think that would be great. I'm now in the position of a combat patrol side Mechanicum army worth £750. I know recasting is an option, but choose to want my dream army to be original, unlike Iron Warriors, mostly recycled recast bits. I can appreciate that. Like, I'm not gonna knock anyone for buying legitimate GW models. If you guys can afford it, if that's what you want to do, go for it. I'm also not going to, knock anyone who does buy recast models, because I want more people in this hobby, and the amount of people I know who are super passionate and they work full-time jobs really hard and want to get in this hobby but physically can't. You shouldn't have to sort of weigh up severe repercussions on buying GW kits, basically. I used to look at things like Tamiya 148 scale tanks, which are big tanks. 148 scale tank model is this sort of big. And you'd look at them and you're like, oh, it's a £40 or £45 model kit. That's insane. It's huge, but it costs so much money. And then people are buying, the same amount of money again for the upgrade parts, like the steel barrel and the tracks and all these other bits. How can they possibly ever do that? And then I'm looking at Games Workshop nowadays going, oh, that's how they do it. Right, okay. Because it's now the price of, like, a grav tank. Or a Sikaran, or what they call a Spartan. And they're less detailed kits as well, which is hilarious. Our GW kits are less detailed than a lot of those Tamiya, Dragon, Trumpeter, that sort of thing kits. And they charge an absolute fortune for them. Also, the more I look at that Rogel Dawn tank in the new Christmas bundle, the more I feel that they were designed to replace the Lehman Russ, like, completely. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, next edition they get rid of the Russ, or they Legends it, and then they release the plastic version for Solar Auxilia. And then that's it. The Russ is the human tank for 30k, and the Rogel Dawn is the tank for 40k. Because I do think that GW is trying to move towards a zero crossover between the two games. I have a 135 Panzer Alfs A from Tamiya and have spent 40 odd on upgrades, and I was 15. Yeah, they're great kits. While Horus is dead, there's 10,000 years of people believing he's Giga Satan that wounded their god. That's going to have some effect in the war. Absolutely, James. See, that's what should happen. Is Horus should manifest, or it should be like the gods of chaos reconstitute his body, but his soul is destroyed. You know, that's something the Emperor has done. He's actually physically destroyed Horus's soul. So the chaos gods put, you know, they mould something else in there. You know, they're building a copy of their favourite toy and trying to do it themselves, and maybe they don't quite get it right. So there's no humanity there. There's none of the charisma he had. It's all hate and anger and pain and suffering, and it's just everything that was bad about Horus at the end, and none of the redeeming qualities, none of the honor of, you know, warrior's honor, none of that. It's all just brutality and suffering. You have a great... Oh, you can have a brilliant storyline there that Gilliman hears that another Primarch's been spotted. You know, another Primarch's come back, and he goes off to meet him, all jubilant that maybe it's Korax or it's Russ or it's Jagatai or whatever. And then he just meets this person that he can sense is his brother, because, you know, they are warp beings, but it's not his brother. It's something wearing like his brother's face, but not. It doesn't look like any of the existing Primarchs. Whole new characters. You know, make you know, you can make 20 of them, I suppose. And that could be your end times that bring Russ back. It brings Jagatai back. That works. What do you think about the idea of someone making their own Legion colour scheme? I saw a guy who did orange Legions as black shields. I think it's a really touchy subject. I think it has to be done... carefully. I'm a firm believer that 30k is a mock historical war game, so it has a kind of set of rules. You know, we know who took part in it, basically. if you want to do a Black Shields warband in your own colour scheme, I'm A-okay with that. You know, Black Shields don't have to just be wearing black. If you mean like, oh, I'm doing my own Legion, they're the space rhinos and they wear pink uniforms with grey helmets. They're the second Legion and their Primarch's name is Gary the Chin Riley. I don't like it, but you know, if I'm a big supporter of doing alternate schemes, like the Badab War style salamanders, picking up night, you know, camo themed. What are they called? Imperial Fists. They're in the artwork. Then you've got like the Blizzard camo Space Wolves who are wearing the dark grey and black stripes. Yeah, I don't mind a lot of those if you can justify it. And I'm pretty liberal on the justification. Like, if you just want to go, hey, these are my Ultramarines. They follow this guy, and they become the Aurora chapter in the second founding, which the Aurora chapter, I think it was, were actually basically already a chapter during the heresy. They were a formation. They were the 88th chapter, I think, of the Ultramarines. And, you know, oh, I want to paint my Ultramarines in green. Okay, go for it. As long as they are clearly identifiable as Ultramarines. I know I keep going back to them, and I will just keep going back to them over and over and over again. But these are my Proto-Nova Marines. And, you know, they are the honour guard of the guy that forms the Nova Marines. But none of them wear the Nova Marine symbol on them. They wear just Ultramarine symbols. And lots of them, because they are Ultramarines. They're just Ultramarines in blue and white. Lucretius Corvo, on the other hand, he will be wearing the Nova Marines symbol, because that's his, you know, his personal heraldry. And yeah, these guys, I want to make sure that people can clearly see these guys are Ultramarines. And blue and white Ultramarines have been a thing in the fluff for a long, long time. Lots of Ultramarine veterans have worn blue, although not blue, worn white. You know, these guys have still got the right numbering on them for the Legion. They're wearing the Legion symbols. But they are the 90th chapter, the Novas. So yeah, I mean, if you can do that, if you can find your strand from the second founding back, I'm okay with pretty much any colour scheme, as long as, not at a glance, but I can look at them and understand that they are who they're supposed to be. You know, I can see, like, my White Scars, for example. The command squad are all wearing red, but the White Scars, like, markings are all in white. So it's a flipped scheme. Because I wanted them to represent the guys that went on to form the Rampagers in the second founding, who wear all red. So yeah, if you can find a fluffy link to a different scheme, go for it. I will be, you know, I'll fight your corner for it. If you are just like, hey, I want to do, here's my, you know, Imperial Fist army, and it's a Crimson Fist army. No, that belongs in a 40k forum. I don't care if you're using 30k rules, it's still a 40k army. Same with the Badab War. Like, I don't post my Badab War stuff on the 30k boards because it's not a 30k army, despite me using the 30k rule set to represent them. If that makes sense. Oh, do I want to try and get the brush in there? No, I don't. Since I'm dealing close to only with old marine bitch and pieces recast, oh, Cataphractii doesn't look as cool next to the new plastic Mark 6. Tell me about it. Like, look at this scale difference. These Mark II Marines that I had printed were absolutely massive. They're absolutely Primaris scale. So if you want to, if you're having a problem with scale, there's two things you can do for it. The first is nice and simple. Get yourself some 1mm plasticard and just glue it to the bottom of the feet and then cut it to shape. You know, it adds 1 millimeter in size. That's quite a lot of, you know, size for a Marine. You can also do the same at the waist, and you can make the waist slightly bigger. If you want to go really hard, you actually put it between, you sandwich it between the two halves of the waist, not the waist, the torso, and then you cut it to shape, and you do it at the waist up as well. You can make the guys look really big like that. But yeah, I mean, just the under the feet is a good way of doing it, and it's not noticeable. And a little bit of the waist as well, maybe a dot, like a little P of green stuff. That's a good way of doing it. What's your thoughts on armies with alt schemes and laws, such as becoming a certain chapter or warband, having certain legion-specific units with lore attached to them? I don't mind, like, if you want to do a legion fighting in a different way, I think you should be able to. I don't think any rule should ever be like, oh, you're playing as an Iron Warriors army, you no longer have access to jet bikes. I don't like stuff like that. So, if you want to do an army like that, you should be able to. It may not play to the strengths of the army, but you definitely should be able to. Now, using different rules, that's a touchy one. You know, like, oh, I'm playing Iron Warriors, but I'm using, I don't know, White Scars rules. If it's a friendly game against, you know, your mate in your garage, no problem, go for it. As long as they know, go for it. At a tournament, nah, I don't think it's right, because your opponent should look at your army and know who they're facing. Again, like the alternate colour schemes might be a little difficult. I wouldn't take a Rampagers themed White Scars army in all red to a tournament, because I think it would be too confusing and people would think I'm playing as Blood Angels. I might take my Nova Marines, because I think they're still fairly identifiable as Ultramarines. But yeah, so I'm okay with that. I'm okay with. I like the idea of Legion forces doing the wrong thing. I've always been a fan of that sort of theme for a force, and that's exactly what I do with my Shattered Legion. Like, everyone's doing the wrong thing in that. Oh. That's a good question. What is everyone's chapter within their legion? Yeah, it's good because, like, you can find some really interesting answers to that. There are some really interesting, you know, second founding chapters. Still convinced the Yellow Jackets are a White Scars successor. As someone who does Ultramarines and Dark Angels, I don't think I can have them do the wrong thing. I don't know. Dark Angels, I think it's kind of a thing for them to be in that one scheme. I like the idea of using heraldry on them, like smaller heraldry on things like tilt shields, and using that, maybe like knee pads, Those are the sort of things where you can add some flair and some colour. You know, you can add a blue or red or, you know, yellow heraldry, and that would show the company or chapter they're with. Maybe use that to symbolise or tie in with a post-war chapter. Maybe their helmet designs, if there's a chapter with a different coloured helmet, that sort of thing. I'm building Iron Warriors with jump packs for flavour. We said they take their trenches with... Yeah. I mean, I was thinking of doing an Iron Warriors army once of Mark 6 Marines, and it was going to be lots of Seekers. And the idea was basically these were the second guys through the breach. So, you know, the wall would explode, in go the breaches and the Terminators, and then these guys come in and they slip out during the melee. And the idea is they get inside the fortress, they start causing trouble, they went after commanders, they went after gatehouses, they went after food reserves, that sort of thing. And the whole idea of the force was to get in and cause as much trouble as possible inside the fortress, even if the actual assault was pushed back. I mean, Perturabo wasn't an idiot. There's no way he'd just get rid of tools out of his arsenal just because he didn't like them. Like he would appreciate the tactical use of anything at his disposal. Yeah, exactly. Use the checker pattern with their 40k chapter colours. That's the sort of thing I meant. I always liked the Dark Angels captain in white that was on the front of the Dark Millennium box. I love the idea of just this bone, not even like creamy bone white, it was proper white, like cold blue white. Remember, guys, outside of the World Eaters, the Iron Warriors have the largest amount of Berserkers in 40k. So having a close combat Iron Warriors army is appropriate. Yeah. But Mark 6 was hated by the Iron Warriors. It wasn't preferred, but again, they would not turn away power armor if they needed it. You don't rock up to a fortress and start shelling it without reconning the area first. That's a very quick way to get your siege engines rocked by a sallying, enemy that has access to your area quite easily. You want things like all entry ports to and from an area scouted and mined. You want landing zones mapped out. You want anti-aircraft positions identified and marked for orbital strikes. You want weak points mapped out. You want strong points marked so they can be used for feint attacks. The Iron Warriors would have used recon forces probably more than many other people realise. And Perturabo putting out the idea that he despises that sort of thing makes him very smart, because he would people would just be like, oh yeah, Perturabo's not going to bother checking before he starts bombing us, so he won't know about our secret tunnels we can use to get our troops behind him, and then their troops will come out walking straight into a gun line of Terminators. Okay. Yeah, Perty's not an idiot, he's just stubborn. So yeah, he's stuck in his ways, but he isn't an idiot. He's the sort of person who would overcommit to something or suffer from the what do they call it? The lost something. It's not the lost cause fallacy. Basically, it's where you've already put a load of time into something, so you don't want to quit because you think you've wasted your time. That's the sort of thing Perturabo would suffer from. The sunk cost fallacy, that's the bastard. Spook turn troops refuse to put the green on. Do a Caliban army then. You know, there's plenty of guys recruited from Caliban. And then new recruits would have, you know, fallen in with the Calibanites. You know, there's just as much reason that new recruits might have resonated with the Calibanites over the Terrans, being seen as outsiders, basically. My plan for my Dark Angels is to do them as Calibanites, and I'll paint them black, but I will edge highlight them with a really dark green. But that army is a long way off. I'm doing Alpha Legion next. I'm curious now, actually, what do you think about people playing Black Shields, especially them not existing anymore? I'm okay with it. I like the idea of irregular forces. Fluff-wise, I'm fine with them. At no point has the Black Shields ever been a problem to me. I think it's sad that GW couldn't be bothered to keep on top of them. And I expect we'll probably see them again in the future. Once like all the armor marks have been released, I reckon they'll be in one of the exemplary battle style books. Whether or not they get an actual full faction, that I don't know. Probably not, if I'm going to be honest. The Storm Eagle on Forge World is painted as Iron Warriors, which I think is fun, because it's not something you think of when you think of Iron Warriors. Why not? You know, what's the quickest way over a wall? It's not to punch through it, it's to fly over it. If the enemy's got no anti-aircraft defences, why would you knock the wall down on a perfectly good fortress? Fly straight over the wall, land inside, take the fortress, build your own anti-aircraft defences so it doesn't happen to you. It's like the White Scars. People say the White Scars wouldn't use tanks and artillery. What they're supposed to do when they get to a fortress they can't ride through? Are they supposed to just circle around it, shouting and waving their arms? Yeah, they even explicitly said they've got artillery trains. I always wanted to do a big diorama piece of the Iron Warriors and the White Scars. I wanted to do this giant... I wanted to do like a piece of wall like this. And it's like two towers, and in the middle is two Iron Warrior sentries facing this way into the fortress, with the caption, the White Scars will never breach our walls, and on the other side of the wall is literally just a load of flyers just like right on top of them, like assault marines, the works. But that's when I've got mega money and I can do stuff like Squidmar and milk it for 36 videos. Because it's Rogel Dawn's War, that's a reason to punch a hole in it. Well, yeah, and again, like, they can't get over the top of it. The sheer amount of firepower coming out of the palace on Terra was, well, it was a Guinness World Record. Let's put it that way. Something feels loose on this model, but I don't know what it is. Something keeps moving. I can feel it click every now and then. I wonder when we'll see the next Primarch. I hope the next 40k Primarch's the Night Haunter, just to really throw it out the, throw it out there. Turns out he faked his death. Mishen was in on it from the beginning. Night Haunter was Mishen. He's been living in the Calidus temple ever since. Yeah, it's a bit weird. Like, there's all this talk of GW bringing back Primarchs into 40k, and it's like you're slowly basically making 40k and 30k the same setting, just at each end of 10,000 years, which is really, really dumb. Yeah, 40k again. Like, why do two separate kits? Why do a 40k Fulgrim and do a 30k Transcended Fulgrim? You're literally just doubling up on the amount of work you need to do. 30k players aren't going to buy the 40k one. The 40k one aren't going to buy the 30k one. Again, it just adds more credibility to the idea that GW don't want people using their models between the two systems. Oh god, could you imagine if they cancelled AOD and replaced it with Legion Imperialis? Blech. Complete scale change. I don't know what Games Workshop's thinking at the moment, and I'm kind of scared of even understanding them. Because if I can understand what GW's thinking, I think I will have gone properly insane. Oh yeah, Fulgrim Simps will buy both. I think I just want to paint Orange Space Marines. Go for it then. Paint Orange Space Marines. Don't let anyone stop you. Especially don't let YouTubers stop you doing things. Yeah, YouTubers should not be ever taken as a point of authority on any creative matter. New Primarch is the prototype angel hid on Mars. Oh man, yeah, that would be... There's a lot of little stories like that in 40k that could make 40k really interesting again. But GW is too afraid to do something different. And they'll stick with what's safe. You know, bring back... You know, clone Fulgrim and clone Ferrus and have them switch sides. That would be something completely out of left field. It would be something really different, really weird. And, you know, it'd be really, really interesting. But GW would never do it because they don't want to offend Emperor's Children fans. They really... Well, they don't give a shit about Iron Hands fans. But yeah, they wouldn't want to offend those guys. So they'll just do the safe, down the middle, predictable option. You know, they'll bring back Rust, they'll bring back Dawn, they'll bring back Korax. Almost got into an argument with someone once for saying Mortarian's 40k model is fine for 30k look-wise. I mean, it is now. If you look at the cover of Warhawk, it's the exact same model. So, yeah, might as well. If I was to pick it up, I'd like to try and convert it. I always like there's a piece of artwork of Mortarion walking forward with his scythe above his head and his wings raised, where he's got like angel wings that I really like. That was the one everyone was basing their Mortarion conversions on back in the pre-Heresy days. I would like a Horus Heresy Demon version of Mortarion of Forge World. My representing the Grim Reaper aspects. 40k version looks too goofy in my opinion. Yeah. Let's see if I have... I can't even spell Mortarion, that's good. No, I really can't spell Mortarion out. No, that's the bugger. That one. That's how he should look. Give us that version, and I'd be very, very happy. This version's fine, but this version's better. Yeah. That's a good bit of art, I like that. And that was another really good one. Abuden. I like this artist for his depiction of his Mark III armour. I didn't like this picture of Dawn though. And these things always make me chuckle. Just because they wind people up. So yeah, what else we got? Wraith-like Curse to go with the theory his crown had a soul stone. Mess with them twice over. Yeah, no, that's a sort of weird and wonderful thing you could do. Is some, you know, he comes back as a soulless machine, the god of the flayed ones. I intend to do a Siege Death Guard army eventually. I need to buy myself some jet bikes. The army was nine jet bikes and a Proteus land speeder, and I think it's bang on 1,000 points. And I got the old Forge World Death Guard upgrade set, you know, the one which is all bloaty and gross, and I was going to put those on the riders and do a siege era, you know, proper slimy and nasty style army. How's my favourite YouTube influencer doing, Bando? I don't know. Who is your favourite YouTube influencer doing? I've been looking at PO boxes, as I've had a couple of people want to send me stuff, which is very nice of you. Thank you very much. It's not something you need to do, but it was a very nice offer. But like, I don't particularly want to give people my address, and I was looking at PO boxes, and they're so expensive. It's about £40 a month, which would be fine if I was getting a dozen or so things a month from people, but you know, 1 or 2 a year is it's just not worth it. So, which is a shame. But I don't get why people send YouTubers stuff. It's a bit weird. It must also be really weird for the YouTuber when they get like these big packages and they open them up and it's just full of weird stuff. I've seen some that's like, oh wow, I've been sent all these really cool sweets from Japan, and all I'm thinking is, and you're going to throw them away, right? You're not going to eat those. There's no offence to any of you guys. If any of you sent me food, it's going straight into the bin. Or I might feed it to my housemate for a laugh. That army will be £204 retail. No, it won't. It will be considerably cheaper than that, my friend. Could you not have stuff dropped off at a local shop or something? That's a really good idea, actually. I might go and talk to my friendly local game shop and see if they'd be willing to take it for me. Unfortunately, my friendly local game shop doesn't do online sales, so they get very little from me shilling for them to people on the internet. Well, no iron brew bars for you then. Actually, that's the sort of thing my housemate would go mad for. My housemate is originally from Scotland, and he loves the brew. And he was very disappointed when they changed the recipe. It's all he used to drink when we were at university was iron brew. That and tea. He loves himself a cup of tea. Maybe some Haribo. Only if it's the sugar-free Haribo gummy bears. Just because of what they do to people. So what do we reckon the next apart from like what we know, the Mark III, the Deredreo, the second Deredreo, which I'm surprised we haven't heard about anything from that yet either. I'm thinking we might get an announcement of that next week. Not next week, the week after, sorry, after the other ones become available and people have already bought it. What do we reckon the next Heresy kit's going to be? The next plastic Heresy kit. Not LI stuff, proper full-scale Heresy. It's got to be the Assault Squad, right? Okay, I'm off. Today I spent my day sculpting a Snork from Stalker. My eyes are tired. Do not overdo it and have fun. Ugh, Snorks. Yeah, you know, rest up, buddy. Don't strain your eyes doing that sort of thing. You'll have to send me a picture at some point. I do like me some good Stalker. Stalker is one of those things that me and my friends have often played a lot of. Next week is Mark V for Epic. I will kill you. I will find you and I will kill you, Havoc. Yeah, I'm hoping the Assault Squad has... I mean, I know it has combat shields, because if you look at the render, one of the guys has a combat shield. I'm just hoping it comes with enough for all of them. Also, do you reckon it's going to be a 5-man or a 10-man squad? I'm hoping it's a 10-man squad. Actually, Assault Squads can be taken up to 20, can't they? Can you imagine it's a 20-man Assault Squad for £45 like the Tactical Squad? Oh, that'd be amazing. Definitely get me one of those. Don't know which army could fit a Mark 6 Assault Squad in it at the moment. Probably my Blood Angel. Yeah, the Blood Angels. Who's another army I need to finish? Yeah, if I can get at least the Tactical Squad of Blood Angels finished before the Mark III stuff arrives, I'll be happy. I can find out for you. I think it's only 10 as it's going to have extra bits. Go for it, man. That'd be great if you can find it out for me. I mean, if it comes with extra stuff like some really interesting weapons, power weapons, axes, spears, etc., etc., that would be good. That'd be a trade-off for a, 10-man squad. I'm a little disappointed that the Mark III kit comes with the same command squad bit, the same sergeant spring. It's a bit sad that we still don't get a bolt pistol. The standard option we can't get. That seems like such an oversight. I'm curious what kind of extra content will be in the Fulgrim Black Book Volume 1. To my shame, I ordered over my universe. As far as I know, it's new rights of war basically for the Emperor's Children, and it just gives them some really weird and funky rules. It's not like new units or anything. All the units we've seen are basically units we've seen before in the exemplary battles, apart from one Salamander squad, which is a whole new unit, which appears to just be a destroyer unit. The command squad better be really bits heavy. Yeah, the command squad better just be like one of those things that you purchase one a year just to have all the bits. Because if it's a bit weak, it's going to suffer. There's all this dried super glue between their legs that I've not noticed until now. Oh, well, just leave it. Yeah, James, I was a little underwhelmed with what I saw as well. I was hoping we were going to get at least a new unit of some sort, maybe some new characters, something that would have made the Emperor's Children stand out a bit. But, yeah. To be honest, all Horus Heresy reviews say everything's underwhelming. Oh, I think that's kind of the point, yeah. I think everything has been a little bit underwhelming. We get the Mark 6 Marines, for example. What do we get from the Mark 6 Marines? Well, we get new Mark 6 Marines that are a better scale. Okay, that's fine. They come in a box of 20. Well, that's fine. They come with bayonets and chain bayonets. Okay, that's kind of cool. There's a power fist and a sword in the box and a plasma pistol. Okay, that's fine. But there's no bolt pistol. Oh, that's not great. The heads are smaller than everything else. That's not great. There's only 5 poses. Okay, that's kind of bad. The arms only fit specific, all the bolters fit the same arms. That's not great. The backpacks are a different scale and a different style to existing Mark 6 packs. That's not great. They're not super compatible with old parts. Okay, that's not great. So we come into it going, okay, we're getting a full squad of Mark 6. That's kind of cool too. Oh, there's a load of stuff that outweighs that. Like, if you'd given us a 20-man Mark 6 squad that was more in line with, like, the classic tactical squad, or, like, the Mark 4 and Mark 3 squads from Calth and Prospero, I think there would have been more normalcy about it. I think people would have been like, this is fine. But it was a scale change, it was a design ethos change, and people didn't like it. And now we're getting the same again with Mark 3. And while Games Workshop people were complaining about expensive tanks, they were also complaining about expensive infantry, and Games Workshop just went with tanks. So, you're not going to please everyone, we get that, but Games Workshop doesn't appear to even be listening. And this is part of Games Workshop's communication problem. If they had a regular conversation, like a back and forth, even if it was a 25-minute a month video, where they read through 10 or 15 questions from the community. Hey, when are we going to see Mark 6 Assault Marines? Hey, when are we going to see Mark 5 armor? Hey, when are we going to see other Sikaran variants? And they just went, those are planned to come out next year. The working plan at the moment is for those to come out in, wave 3. If we knew, like, okay, so we get 2 waves per year for example, of releases. First 6 months, second 6 months, year. Let's just make it really simple. If they said, okay, when are we getting more Sikaran variants? And they could just go, our plan at the moment is to release the Sikaran variants in Wave 3. I know, okay, they're not coming out this year. They're coming out at the beginning of next year. I won't bother saving up for them. I'm going to buy something this year that something else I want. When are they coming out with Assault Marines? Well, the plan for Assault Marines is they'll be out in Wave 2, which will be at the end of this year. Oh, cool, okay, well, I can wait for that. I'll do a different part of the army. I'll do a different army to start with. I'll wait to do my Blood Angels Days of Revelation army. Until then. It just lets people plan a bit better. I get the Games Workshop wants people to buy, but treat them like adults. Remember that it's disposable income, and not many people have that anymore. So if they're budgeting for their hobby, it's better that they budget and spend it well, and they don't get burnt out. Just be a bit grown up about it. So yeah, people are going to be underwhelmed. Well, maybe stop writing articles that are 2 paragraphs and 2 pictures. Put some effort in. Here's Mark III Space Marines. Here's a picture of the sprue. Here's pictures of them in universe, as it were. In staged photos like they did with the exemplary battles. Here's Mark III Ultramarines fighting against some Gal Vorbak in Calth. Here's Mark III Dark Angels fighting the Night Lords. Here's Mark III Alpha Legion fighting Mark III Alpha Legion. That's, do something really cool. Make some really cool posed up scenes and take some photos. Show some studio work where you've got a variety of quality and styles of painting. Here's a guy who does like a really rough dry brush Death Guard scheme, and here's this really exquisite Blood Angels guy with loads of freehand and stuff. Here's a converted Praetor that a guy's made using a Mark III Marine. That's the sort of articles you should put out. It should be a good solid 20-25 minute read, and at the end of that read, a person should close the article and go, man, I can't wait to get my hands on those box set. That's going to be, I got so many ideas. Because that's what it used to be like in White Dwarf. You'd pick up a White Dwarf, you'd read an article about a guy's Iron Warriors army, and you'd come away from it going, I need to go buy the Chaos Codex. Because you saw the conversions, you saw the effort he put in. And if I'm just going to be like, here is a bland Death Guard drop pod. Here is 4 of them. They're 2 models. We've just put a green stripe down one of them. They come in a box of 4. You can also make the Death Flower version, or whatever the fuck they call it, that can shoot missiles. Tune in next week for more Legione Imperialis. If you're going to be that boring, expect boring returns back from the community. You want enthusiasm? Make us be enthusiastic. You want to hype up Assault Marines? Show Assault Marines. Show a battle report on top of a mountain with all like cotton wool clouds and stuff, and they're jumping between platforms. That would be a cool thing to see in an article. Show a converted load of them where they're all flying and using flying stands. Show some... show a really cool diorama of a bunch of like Night Lord Assault Marines clambering over a Leviathan Dreadnought and dropping their chainsaws into the top of it, and the sergeant's about to slap a melter bomb in his face. That would have been cool. I think that's one of the first things I'd do if I ran Games Workshop, is I'd radicalise the use of the Warhammer Community website. Warhammer Community should basically be like your free version of White Dwarf. You should read through it and go, that's amazing, can I read any more about this article? And it would be like, hey, in White Dwarf this week we're covering X, Y and Z that's related to this article, come and check it out. And I can go and spend a £5 or 20 quid or whatever the hell a White Dwarf costs now, because it used to cost £2.50 back in my day, and that makes me feel old. £2.50. What is effectively like a bottle of Pepsi nowadays could get you a White Dwarf. And I pick it up now because I know there's going to be some really cool articles going over loads of different versions of like the Mark III Marines or whatever. That's what I want. You know, I want to be enthusiastic. I really do want to be enthusiastic. I want to make videos like I want to be like Chapter Master Valrak, but unironically. Like I want to be that happy for Games Workshop models, and I want to like skid home, throw my bike away, and be like, guys, did you see this? And make a video instantly showing you guys, you know, this really cool article and how it's amazing, and look what they did with this guy, and look how they converted this guy's head, and that's what I want. It's just there's nothing. It's a grey, low effort release after low effort release after low effort release. It's so corporate now, it's lost all its flavour. You know, insert generic, slightly upbeat fantasy metal music. Show model rotating around a battlefield, slightly at a kilter. Don't focus on the model because we don't want to reveal everything. Close up of a random part of the model. Close up of a different part of the model. Finally reveal by bringing the lights up. Oh, it's this model. Look at the nostalgia. Can you remember? Do you remember? And that's it. That's every Games Workshop reveal, basically. It's by the book, and it's boring. Are they releasing the Assault Marines as an upgrade kit, or is it a new Marine kit with new poses? It's a whole new kit with new poses. They've got different style torsos on them, so they're not the same. It will be a completely new kit. The groups I'm in came to the conclusion it's underwhelming, not the reviewers. No new rules or characters. The new rights require Demon Fulgrim, and Fulgrim doesn't look great from what I've seen. Yeah, basically. That was Fat Blokes doing, as sadly people running the community site don't think that 26k a year is worth putting the effort in. Mate, I'd do it. That's more money than I make at the moment. Let me work from home. I'll do it. I'll put in all the effort you want. A universal plastic Praetor kit with all the options included would be a dream for each power armor type. Even all the leftover bits require getting good use. Yeah, that would be a really fantastic kit. You'll never get it. Games Workshop won't ever do like those big character kits like the old Space Marine Captain ever again, because they don't want you having spare bits. Are you sure maybe it's not the nostalgia talking? I also remember really enjoying White Dwarf, but things have gotten a lot more jaded as I get older. I'm sure there is that to it, but that just means that it's down to people, because like the people who are my age reading White Dwarf and writing those articles, or are now the ones writing the articles, is what I mean to say, sorry. So, you know, they're just different, and I don't know, like, if we want it to be good, we have to make it good, and if we're going to do it, we have to put the effort in. And if I'm feeling jaded, then I need to do something that makes it so I'm not feeling jaded, because if I feel jaded now with it, how's the kid in 15 years going to look back at it when he looks at it? How jaded is he going to be when it gets even worse? I mean, White Dwarf, I don't think has been the same since they went to a point where they tried to turn it into a catalogue, effectively. Like, they got rid of the articles, it just became a picture book. Which was really dumb. I wish I hadn't thrown a lot of mine out. I threw a lot of my White Dwarfs out when I was clearing my room when I was a kid, trying to make space for things, and it's annoying. I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd kept them. They're too expensive to buy now. Hi Morgy Mama, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. seem to have joined right at the height of the salt, so I apologise. We also don't want too much GW's attention, otherwise we end up with a new edition every 3 years. Yeah, that's a valid point. That is a valid point. The only criticism I say of that is that, you know, we're basically then just saying that we don't want GW involved in this game, so why are we playing a GW game? I agree, like the 3-year release cycle is too much. But it will never go away. I've said before, GW is now controlled by money men. If anything, expect it to speed up. You just picked up a whole bunch of the old Mark III stuff. Congratulations. I need to get some more. I'll have to wait till I can order from China. Again, that'll be at least payday. I want to get another box of Mark IV because I want to do another tactical squad for my Sons of Horus. Probably just do them up as 10 bolter guys because I've got 2 tactical squads in my Sons of Horus army, and I've got a bunch of random sergeants, so that way I can run them as 2 10-man or 2 20-man squads, or I can just pick one of those random sergeants and run them as you know, extra squads. 4 10-man squads is a little excessive though. The problem is, like, new editions only work if you're actually putting the effort in to make a better edition. But it's like every year, it's like, hey, we're just gambling with whether or not this edition is going to be hot garbage or not. And then spending 3 years trying to house rule it into being usable. It's like a new version of Windows. Every time a new version of Windows comes out, it's like, how do we make it look like the old version of Windows? I feel the staff aren't relatable in the Tales articles and the Here's My Army ones. There's no passion. Yes, that's kind of what it feels like. It feels very corporate. It feels very much like these are the guys. They only pick the guys who are 100% GW all the time. And that's what it's going to be like, because there's no way they won't do that anymore, because they don't want people who are creative making armies. They want people who are just buying their armies. You know, back in the day, you'd see some guy's Death Guard with a really cool tank that had like a face on it, and all the models were converted, and there was all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff in there, and you know, it was great. But nowadays, they don't want that. They don't want you converting stuff. They want, here's a Death Guard army. It's painted using GW paints. All the models are put together exactly how they're supposed to be. At best, you've got a head swap with a Forge World upgrade. Oh, instead of using the Land Raider, the Chaos Land Raider, I've used the Forge World Land Raider and made it look like this to tie it in with my Death Guard 30k army. Oh wow, that's really cool. Why don't you do a 30k Death Guard army? That's all they want. They're just blind obedience. Don't think. Just consume. Which is why, you know, if you look at other creators, Weird Miniatures, Warlord. I can't think of any at the moment. You look at other creators, and there's still a bit of that passion about... I mean, people like Warlord are starting to move away from it a bit because they're getting big enough, but nowhere like GW does. But yeah, you can go to a bolt action tournament without a single Warlord model. That's not a problem. Bring back the old DIY scenery article, conversion guides, interviews with artists, writers, bring back miniatures, make it less of a catalogue. Yeah, that was better back then when it was more like that. I mean, you did see, adverts for miniatures because that was the only way we could get the knowledge of new miniatures, but it was the first couple of pages where this is what's up and coming. Next month's releases, you might have like a picture of a sculpt, a work in progress sculpt from the studio, which was, still a green stuff sculpt. So you knew that was coming in, 6 months or whatever. You had the codes to order it through mail order and the price, and that was it. And then it was onto the articles. There was fluff, there was, fiction, there was conversion guides, battle reports. It was good. It was a good time. How to build an orc village. I can still knock up an Empire townhouse out of a cereal box, thanks to GW. But even if it was articles using their terrain bits, I wouldn't mind that so much. Like, I know they want to sell their terrain, so show me some conversion ideas using the Necromunda tiles, or how to use, I don't know, the Octarius terrain or whatever terrain set is available at the moment. How to make it look more realistic, how to blend it together. There was a good one on the Warcom article about the HAB units for Ash Wastes that was like that. I didn't want to do a video on it because it was a relatively short article, but that's the sort of thing I want to see more of. That's the sort of thing that should be there, because you want to teach these kids to have a spark of creativity. Because if you just teach the kids to obey and paint the models exactly how they're on the box, 2 thin coats, wash, highlight, that sort of thing, they're not going to do it as well. They'll get disheartened, they'll get bored, and they'll leave. But if you teach a kid to be creative, if you go, here's how this is how you draw a square, now go build a castle. You'll spark their imagination. That kid will start creating all sorts of weird shit, and they'll be stuck for life. Don't you, like, here's a video on how to paint Logan Grimnar. He's a wolf lord. Instead, do an article on, hey, here's how to convert a wolf lord from the new Terminator captain. We've used parts from the Wolfguard Terminators and the Bloodclaws pack. And here's 3 of them painted by different members of the studio, and you paint them in different styles. One's done really gritty and realistic, one's done kind of a loosey, dry brushy kind of way, and one's done in a really high art way, or the heavy metal way. The studio had a Warhound Titan conversion made from an ATST and other third-party kits. Yeah, they did. I don't think it was a Warhound. I think it was just called a Scout Titan. The old GW How to Build Terrain book taught you how to make terrain out of basically garbage. Tin cans, Pringles tins, polystyrene balls with cocktail sticks in it. corrugated cardboard. What else was in there that I remember? Metal sheets used, like metal, like chicken wire sheet style things, filter sheets for making fences. Yeah. That was a good book. That was a very good book. That and How to Paint Your Space, How to Paint Your Citadel Miniatures was another really good one. I have to say that the last season of Ninth played pretty good. Balance was, yeah, but we shouldn't have to wait till we're on death's doorstep of an edition to get a decent game out of it. You should play the first edition or first game of the edition and go, that was great. That was great. At no point was I confused. At no point did I, have to look up a rule twice. It just worked. That's the sort of thing you want for an edition. I'm nearly out of this black already. I've absolutely shagged my way through this bottle. Oh. I'm going to finish these guys up and then that'll probably be it for this evening, guys. It's been a long week, unfortunately. These guys have got some crazy ass hips on them. Seriously. Them some childbirthing hips. Also, I'm sure you guys were happy that there was no annoying intro on the Thursday's video. I looked long and hard for a happy Thursday video, but I couldn't find one that actively conveyed my feelings using an Evangelion meme. Yeah, the community sending death threats to Matt Ward was stupid. I can't defend it. The problem is that hobbies like this, hobbies like all nerd hobbies basically, were... Okay, we're going to go on a huge tangent here, guys, so buckle up, buttercups. So all nerd hobbies basically were the refuge for people who suffered from a lot of social issues. And they became kings of this kingdom, basically. And I'm not saying that everyone in these hobbies are Spurglords, but there are definitely a lot of Spurglords in these sorts of hobbies. Comic books, video games, anime, and wargaming. And the problem with that is that these people, my people, unfortunately, are ill. We have a mental health condition that means we do not deal with social issues, social cues, in what society has deemed the correct manner. So, for a normal person, Space Marines coming out and doing a certain thing, or a piece of lore coming out and being a certain way, is no more than I guess they changed that. But to someone who that is their normal, it can be, I don't want to say earth-shattering, but it almost is earth-shattering. And that's the sad part, is it can be so painful. It is actually painful. When something happens that is against what is your thing that makes you comfortable. For me personally, I get angry. I get very, very angry. I get this white hot rage behind my eyes, and I have to, it's so hard to control. And I do control it because I have to control it, but it's very difficult. And I kind of go off and I sit quietly for a while because whatever it is, and it's usually the government doing something stupid. Hey, yeah, my hyperfixation is counter-revolutionary warfare. Yeah, it just it can make people really not well. And if this person is not as well off as some other people, is not as supported, does not maybe have a support system in place. And I mean, a lot of the kids I see, or used to see especially in the hobby, they got into the hobby because it was a way for their parents to kind of drop them off and have an afternoon of normalcy without their kid. You could see it in their eyes. They were dropping their weirdo kid off at the weirdo kid shop to be with the other weirdo kids for 2 or 3 hours so they could go and do some shopping without having to worry about their weirdo child. And like, I knew that very early on. I have a sixth sense of picking out my own people. No, I'm on the spectrum. I'm just enough of the spectrum that I'm, aware of it, and that sucks. It's like being trapped in your own body. And, these people, they get angry if something changes. Because they don't want it to change. I hate change. If my shift at work, luckily it doesn't change anymore because I'm at a new job, but when I was at work, if my shift would change, it would cause me real grief. To the point where I'm almost like going to HR because my boss keeps changing my shift. That is not normal. And on a sub-tangent of the tangent, I'm getting really sick and tired of people trying to normalise these sorts of things. Neurodivergent, it's not like I'm not special, I'm not unique, I don't have superpowers. People like me are mentally ill. Well, not ill, that's not the right word, but we are not right and should not be normalised. It should be treated, it should be fixed. And yeah, okay, I still can't defend a guy writing death threats to someone over a miniatures game, but I also understand why they did it. And it sucks because I want those people to be included in this hobby, but it's difficult. And it's difficult when you have to deal with them in real life because maybe they don't understand you don't touch someone's miniatures without asking. They don't understand that, hey buddy, you stink, please go away, don't come near me, you smell awful. I'm looking for a game of 40k, I don't want to play you really, really, freak me out. The comments you make about the girls in the shop are really inappropriate, and I have told you that they're inappropriate, but you don't seem to understand. And back in the day I didn't know because I wasn't diagnosed then at myself. It's just, I've said to my friends now that if I'm doing something that is like that, if I'm being a bit spurgy, they're supposed to tell me, and I'm like, don't sugarcoat it. I'm just like, hey, just go Bando, autism off, sort of thing. And they will, they've done it from time to time. They've told me, hey, you're spurging out, rein it back there a bit, fella. And I'm like, oh, good. No, someone's told me. I'm aware of it now. I'm going to go off and do something different for a little while to try and reset myself. Now, I'm not going to write death threats to Matt Ward over writing a bad Grey Knights Codex. I've got enough of a grip on reality that I'm not going to do that. I'm also on enough watch lists that if I did that and that's it, lights out, I'm never doing Warhammer again. But, if they decided to radically change the Warhammer landscape, they wanted to change it massively, if they wanted to Disneyfy it, that sort of thing, I wouldn't be happy, and I would be vocal about not being happy about it, and I would basically take my business elsewhere, which is kind of what's happening nowadays. I'm buying 3D printed models, I'm printing myself, I'm buying third-party models. And more importantly, I'm educating people about the alternatives, and I think That's more important than me just buying models from a different creator. It's teaching these kids that there is a giant ecosystem out here, outside of Games Workshop. It's like what's it called? M. Night Shyamalan, The Village. When the woman runs outside and realizes that actually her tiny little village is in a much bigger world. Warhammer is just one hobby out of a very, very, very large selection of wargaming options. And the more we educate kids on the options, the better it is. Because basically, if Games Workshop starts getting competition and goes, oh, why is all our numbers dropping off? And Alessio Calvatore is across the road at Warlord Games laughing and poking his nose at them, they'll understand why. And I just want to stress again, like, I'm not blaming anyone who's on the spectrum. I'm not blaming anyone who's different for anything like that. I'm not calling people on the spectrum or anything like that bad, evil, wrong, or anything like that at all. I'm just saying that the people who are like that are in this hobby in a disproportionate amount to other spaces. So you are going to come across them. You're going to come across the unique situation of dealing with people like me, and what it's like. So you kind of just have to learn to deal with it. Are we all on the spectrum? I'm recently diagnosed with ASD and ADHD. Welcome to the club, Mike. It's super fun. We have t-shirts, and we like to shout at trains. Actually, I'm probably the only autistic person who can't stand trains. I absolutely hate them. There's so many good bits and pieces of construction stuff in the heating and plumbing sector. I actually, at my old job, the coffee machine broke. And when the guy was taking it apart, he pulled all the bits out, and I'm like, "What do you do with them when you finish?" He's like, "I bin them." It's like, "Can I have them?" And he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Oh, I make wargaming terrain." So I got this whole inner guts of this very expensive coffee machine that looks like an industrial chemical plant thing that I was going to use for like Necromunda terrain. It looked fantastic. I ended up having to throw it away because there was too much stuff in my workshop. But it looked really, really cool. Yordi man, I'm on the same spectrum. We aren't normal so far on the spectrum. We are considered normal. Yeah, we're passing. I read that the hobby has loads of ASD, but it does. All like nerdy hobbies generally are very attractive to these sorts of people. And I think there's a lot of reason that's why like modern geek hobbies are struggling at the moment is that Hollywood doesn't want to really appeal to those people, and they're appealing to the mass market, and us weirdo brigade types are kind of resenting that, because the reason comics, for example, are so big, or were such a big thing, was because people like us were buying comics. Star Wars went from being a film to being a phenomenon because people like us bought lunchboxes, toys, mouse mats, comic books, t-shirts, pencil toppers, pencil cases, models, action figures, starships, plates, the works. We just gobbled it up and went from being just a movie to being just a worldwide media phenomenon. And we were then basically labelled as the enemy. And like you can see it from when Disney took over a lot of like Marvel, when they took over Marvel and Disney. And you can see the increase of things where people are like, oh, the fans hate this, and the fans are attacking this, and the toxic fans are doing that, and the toxic fans are that. And it's like, no, these people aren't toxic. They're passionate. And passionate fans need to be addressed like passionate fans. Treat them with respect, because they're the ones that pay for your yacht. You know, if you see how much money things like the Sideshow 1 in 6th scale Star Wars figures are, they are like, what, a foot tall statue of Luke Skywalker that costs £300 if you're lucky. And they'll have dozens of them. These people will spend a fortune. You know, we call our hobby plastic crack, but you look at like proper nerds and comic book collectors and Star Wars fans who spend way more than we could spend on an army on their hobby. And then return, basically the company goes, oh, you're toxic. Yeah, you're awful. We hate you. We're not making movies for you. And Games Workshop kind of has been drifting in that direction. You know, that it all started with that whole you will not be missed email, like post. It was aimed at a very specific guy who was definitely in the wrong, but it caught in a wide net a lot of people who it shouldn't have. And yeah, basically, they're going to keep doing that. They'll keep pushing it. They'll keep, because what will happen eventually is Games Workshop will slip. They will start pricing themselves on the market, so they'll need more money. So what they'll do is they'll start going after things called DIE, which is diversity, equity, inclusion. And diversity, equity, inclusion is a thing used by investors, and basically you score points. It's much like your green energy is another one they do. You know, is your office carbon neutral? Does your office run on renewable energy? Is your office using biodegradable coffee cups? That sort of thing. And it's how many people of a certain ethnic race, religion, etc., etc., etc. do you hire? Oh, your characters, are they... How many of X, Y, and Z characters do you have in your setting? And the higher the points are, the more these investment firms will pay you money. Which is why you see a lot of it in media, because they need the money from the investments. And I've got no problem with anyone of any race, creed, or colour, or anything like that being included in this hobby. At all. Like, flat out, do not care. I want more people in this hobby, 100%. As long as they want to be in this hobby and not change this hobby. If you want to come in here and you want to change this hobby to fit your sensibilities, fuck off. I don't care what colour you are. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what religion you are. Sexuality, anything. Fuck off. I'm here to play Warhammer. I'm here to paint Space Marines. I care about the God Emperor of Mankind. I care about the Great Crusade. I care that, humanity's place is at the top of the food chain in this situation. And all the aliens and the heretics are wrong. That's it. In a fictional situation. I care about Space Marines. I care about plastic Space Marines, resin Space Marines, metal Space Marines, tanks, aircraft. I care about orcs and goblins and high elves and all that shit. I don't want to hear modern day stories. I don't want to see fucking, George Floyd in the Empire being stepped on by someone or some shit like that. I don't need metaphor and allegory for modern day political bullshit. I play my hobby for escapism. Okay? And that's it. That's... I play Heresy because I want to know the story about the Horus Heresy. On my third sub-tangent of this tangent, you know that whole thing with the, hey, do you think of the Roman Empire all the time? I don't. I do not think about the Roman Empire at all. I don't know if all you guys constantly think of the Roman Empire like apparently all men do. What I think about is this empire. I think about these legions like daily. I think this is probably my Roman Empire. But yeah. I don't want it to change. Anyone here is welcome. Like there was a recent guy who posted some Alpha Legion. He posted some Alpha Legion on Facebook and Instagram, and they're in the lovely is it violet? The dark purple. The indigo, that's the word I'm looking for. The indigo Alpha Legion scheme. and he had some of the new Mark III that he'd been sent by GW. And those were some of the most beautiful models I'd ever seen painted. He'd done this wonderful, shiny, glossy finish to them. They looked brilliant until I got closer. And then I realised these weren't glossy. These weren't shiny. He'd hand painted all the reflections on. Everything had been done by hand with oil paints. His entire army was painted in this style in oil paints. And I was like, this is possibly one of the best looking armies I've ever seen. Do you know what didn't occur to me and didn't matter at any point when I was appreciating his work? His race, his gender, his sexuality, where he was born, what language he spoke, what accent he had, who he sleeps with, how much money he makes in a year, you know, the colour of his socks, none of that. All I appreciated and took from that was this guy had painted the nicest Alpha Legion I'd ever seen. That was it. That's all I cared about. And that's what we should all care about. And I don't want anything else forced down my throat. And you can see it. You can see it on the Dawn of Fire novels. They're almost... The covers of the Dawn of Fire novels are like made by formula. They're like... We have to have certain like poses. People need to be in certain places. We need X number of people of certain races, and it's just I got no problem with it. But it's funny to look at and see that you can see the whole like formula at play there. But it's silly. It's like female Space Marines. There was actually a brilliant. There was a poll done on Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. No one's calling it fucking X. There was a poll done on Twitter, and I can't remember who she was, but basically she put up a poll and was like, "Hey, answer it. I want to know the breakdown of this." So she's like, "Do you want female Space Marines?" And it was like, "Yes, I'm a man. Yes, I'm a woman. No, I'm a man. No, I'm a woman. Yes, I'm other. No, I'm other." And it was very surprising because basically the answers were, in the majority, no, we don't want female Space Marines. One of the larger groups that doesn't want female Space Marines was women. The largest group that wants female Space Marines is men. Which is just more proof that it's a whole thing to do with people and kink, in my opinion. They want their fan fiction to be canon, basically. And I don't want it. I don't get... You want to make them? Go for it. But it's not canon. That's you know, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to throw a hissy fit. I'm not going to walk out of a game because you've got female heads on your Space Marines. I'm going to think they look stupid. But, you know, I'm not going to throw a hissy fit over it. I'm a goddamn adult. I've got much more important things to throw hissy fits over. You know, I could throw a hissy fit over the fact of my electric bill. Now I can cost it in numbers of, like, battalion boxes. I want a Sisters army. I really like Sisters of Battle. But again, they're really expensive to buy. It's dude that want muscle mummies. Now, first of all, Mike, there ain't nothing wrong with a muscle mummy. Okay? I will tell you that straight off the bat. But I don't want muscle mummy Space Marines because, again, I don't want kink in my 40k. It's not what I collect the hobby for. And ironically, in the novels, in the 40k novels, the Inquisition do actually punish people for, you know, sins of the flesh. It's seen as wasteful. Which I think is really ironic. Can't remember which Inquisition book it's in, but it's in one of them. But then again, in one of the Inquisition books, there's a guy who thinks he's going to have sex with a gene stealer. There there is nothing wrong with a muscle mum. Look, a girl with flat abs is absolute peak in my opinion. A girl who can, bench press me, sign me the fuck up. Bounce crack grenades off her abs. I'm fine with more female characters in the setting as well. I've written... How many books have I written now? 1, 2, 3, 4... I think 5 of my books have female lead characters. Or at least, 50-50 between 2 characters. And I find male main characters boring. Although if I ever do release it to be published, I'm probably going to be accused of being a woman hater if people ever read my spy novel, because the opening to that book is not kind to the main character. She gets beaten black and blue rather nastily. Basically, I wanted to write a spy novel which was a bit more accurate in how it represented the differences between men and women, because we've all seen that whole like Black Widow type thing where you have the female spy who's 60 pounds when soaking wet, and she's back flipping around guys 3 times her size, and she's breaking their necks and throwing them over staircases and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, that's really cool, but what would really happen? So I wrote a novel where actually she has to be smart. She has to use clever tactics to beat people. So when she does get into a straight up fight with 2 Russian paratroopers, they beat the ever living piss out of her, and they flush her head down a toilet because they don't like her. I might put them in the Outer Circles Discord at some point. I'll pop a link to them in there so you can read them. They're still ongoing because I'm always tinkering with them. The other series I've written is a Second World War alternate history, where only one of the atomic bombs dropped, and the main character in that is a German girl who is a pilot for the German resistance. And I basically wanted a non-Mary Sue lead character. I'd watched The Force Awakens and was so disgusted with how awful that character was. I was like, I need to write a character that's actually believable, why she can do these things. So yeah, I've got two books written for that series. And then the spy one. Then there was I did a werewolf comic book that was a bit like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but focused on werewolves. But it was very self-aware. And that was going to have all the different kind of werewolf mythology, because there's lots of different. I love werewolves. Werewolves terrify me; they really do. But I'm absolutely fascinated with them. There's loads of different types of werewolves throughout different media and different mythology, and it was going to cover that, and each one was going to be different types. I did a science fiction story, which was basically the Earth explodes. What happens to all the people on Mars, Titan, Venus, and all that. You know, when it happens, can they survive? You know, can they get on with each other now that there is no central governing body? And then I did a traditional fantasy story, which was your traditional kind of hero's journey. Young elf leaves his family on the farm to go to the big city and gets dragged into a prophecy sort of jobby. But it had a giant lizard man as one of the main characters who wore silly clothing because the lizard people and the elves had fought a war which the lizard people lost. And basically they were allowed to live, but they had to sort of change their lifestyle. One of the things they had to do is they started wearing clothes, but they just had no concept of fashion, so they just like, oh, well, we like bright colours, that's what attracts, you know, each of us. So they just wore the most garish, over-the-top kind of Elizabethan ruffles and, you know, silk and all just sorts of stupid, over-the-top, nothing matched kind of clothing. But that's only got like 2 or 3 chapters written. I'll get them finished. The problem is that I really struggle with putting aside time to actually write them. I'm only really productive when I've got something else to do, and I use them as a distraction. When I decided to quit my, not last job, but the job before that, I ended up writing, I don't know, 30,000 words in a week because I knew I'd just given up, and I was like, oh, I'll just do this instead. How many am I writing? So the World War II series has 3 books planned in the main series, with a spin-off set in the 1960s planned, with another spin-off set at the same time, taking place at the same time as the main 3 books. So 5 are there. The spy novel's really going to be a one and done, I think, but could have sequels. The fantasy one was supposed to be a one and done, but could expand depending how long it gets as a story. The comic book could go on for several issues. The sci-fi one could go on for fucking ages. There's loads of stuff in that one. I love writing D&D stuff. So here's another one. I've written my own roleplay game. Which is called Scrappers. It's a working title because I think Osprey Games have a game called Scrappers. But you play as salvagers on a spaceship, and the dungeons are basically starships. And that's in a fully working state. I've run 2 campaigns with that, of testing campaigns. But I love writing D&D. Like homebrew stuff. I can't use the normal D&D setting. I have to write my own. I have to be in like complete control of the universe. So yeah, that's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. The last one I did of that was going to be like a fantasy retelling of the American Revolutionary War, but set during like the Dark Ages. So it was going to be, the elves were like the British Empire. They were the Norman styled anti-magic types, and then you'd have, you know, the humans who were more like Iron Age, and they were split between kind of Anglo-Saxon style and Slavic style as the 2 main groups. What I might do, Peter, is I might actually at some point run a scrapper session and get people to play if you guys are interested. I think it could be quite fun. What's my magnum opus? Magnum opus. I think it's got to be the World War II book. It's the one I've written the most of. It's actually finished from, you know, you can read the whole story from start to finish. But there's a lot of stuff in there that I'm not happy with. I'm going back and finishing and rewriting and chopping bits out. There's a whole relationship subplot that just appears out of nowhere that I'm not really happy about. So that's getting completely changed. My world got really fleshed out in GCSE English because they had us do a creative writing unit. I'd really like to read some of this. Sounds fun. I'll throw some links up at some point, don't worry. My tag was a lady you can grate nutmeg on her abs. Mike, that's sounds pretty great. What will I paint tomorrow? An Arc Magos, an Arcus Coria, or continue to build my 10 last cannon squad from all the old recast parts that have mold slip. Ugh, mold slip. Grim. I've got a 10-man last cannon squad here somewhere. There they are. They'll be going for my Sons of Horus. I want to get some more Sons of Horus stuff built before I break up the airbrush for them. I like to do stuff in one big batch, which is why I do all 20 of these at once. I want to try and get these guys finished. I think I did okay with some of the sculpting on these, a bit better than last time, but it's only a start. I'll keep going. I'm going to need to rewash these guys to get rid of this white gumph that's on all of them. You can see it there on the shoulder pad. And I'll break out the old Coat d'Arms Warlock Purple, Warlock Purple was the colour I used to paint my Emperor's Children back in the day from Games Workshop. So, yeah. My only experience with pen and paper was as I asked to play some kind of Prince Charming role for an event and I didn't know what they wanted me to do. Yeah. The first time you play those sorts of games it can be a bit daunting because you just don't know what you're doing. I once tried to run the Star Wars roleplay game for my parents and that was like pulling teeth. I also did one where my friend wanted to play a Wookiee, but I said he could only do it if he only spoke Wookiee, which was quite funny because every time he tried to communicate with the people around him, it was just him going and waving his arms randomly at things. I feel really bad for making him do that. We were then going to do a game where everyone played as Ewok Jedi, but we never got around to organising it. Winter, I'll have dark themes in the Grimdark universe. I'll make it grimdarker. Just watch me. A lot of my armies are really grimdark anyway. It's like my Imperial Fist, every single one of my Imperial Fists dies before the end of the battle. They're like, none of them make it off of... I think one of them says he makes it off of Mars and he's going into a dreadnought. I'd like to work on these more, but I said I'm not going to work on my Imperial Fists until the other legions get some more representation, and I feel like I've got to stick to it because it is silly that these guys get so many releases now, and I don't think for a split second that me deciding not to paint some of these Banana Boys is going to do anything, but you got to do what you got to do. When they're finished, I'll have a full 10-man underslung Volkite squad. But I don't know when that'll be. Right, guys, that's been 2.5 hours, nearly 2 3/4 hours. I think I'm going to call it there. These guys are now finished. I'm going to let them dry, and then I'll do some washing on them. Thank you very much for coming along. I really appreciate everyone who's watched and commented. You guys are always great. You know that. You know I always appreciate you guys so much. We're at 996 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed, please, if you want to, please hit that subscribe button. I try to put out at least 2 videos a week. I'm not very good at it. I stream every Friday, or at least I try to. And pop a comment on any of the regular videos. If you're subscribed, be in a chance to win a model when I hit 1,000 subscribers. So yeah. My name is Bando. This has been Bando's messy stream. My desk is starting to get a bit messier again, so I'm going to have to tidy that up. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Enjoy your weekends. Good luck with all your hobby goals. Let me know how you get on. Thanks, Mike. See you guys later.